Good evening and welcome to my study. My name is Ron. I'm your host. It's my pleasure to share a daily devotional with you. I am just fascinated at all the things I'm learning by this little walk through the Bible we're doing. Now, we finished Obadiah yesterday. It's a one-chapter book, and it left me a little bit confused and uncertain, but something will click at some point, I'm sure. But tonight we're going into the book of Jonah, one of the most famous of the minor prophets, in my opinion. So we are going to read chapter 1 of Jonah, so we get kind of to know him. So grab your tea or coffee. My wife makes a good herbal tea. And let's get into the book of Jonah. The Lord gave this message to Jonah: Get up and go to the city of Nineveh. Announce my judgment against it, because I have seen how wicked its people are. But Jonah got up and went in the opposite direction to get away from the Lord. He went down to the port of Joppa, where he found a ship leaving for Tarshish. He bought a ticket and went on board, hoping to escape from the Lord by sailing to Tarshish. But the Lord hurled a powerful wind over the sea, causing a violent storm that threatened to break the ship apart. Fearing for their lives, the desperate sailors shouted to their gods for help and threw the cargo overboard to lighten the ship. But all this time Jonah was sound asleep down in the hold. So the captain went down after him. "How can you sleep at a time like this?" he shouted. "Get up and pray to your God. Maybe he will pay attention to us and spare our lives." Then the crew cast lots to see which of them had offended the gods and caused the terrible storm. When they did this, the lots identified Jonah as the culprit. "Why has this awful storm come down on us?" they demanded. "Who are you? What is your line of work? What country are you from? What is your nationality?" Jonah answered, "I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the land." The sailors were terrified when they heard this, for he had already told them he was running away from the Lord. "Oh, why did you do it?" they groaned. And since the storm was getting worse all the time, they asked him, "What should we do to you to stop this storm?" "Throw me into the sea," Jonah said, "and it will become calm again. I know that this terrible storm is all my fault." Now, here's something interesting. Instead, the sailors rowed even harder to get the ship to the land. But the stormy sea was too violent for them, and they couldn't make it. They didn't want to throw Jonah overboard. Then they cried out to the Lord, Jonah's God. "Oh Lord," they pleaded, "don't make us die for this man's sin, and don't hold us responsible for his death. O Lord, you have sent this storm upon him for your own good reasons." Then the sailors picked Jonah up and threw him into the raging sea, and the storm stopped at once. The sailors were awestruck by the Lord's great power, and they offered him a sacrifice and vowed to serve him. Jonah didn't even do any preaching, and he was saving people. Now the Lord had arranged for a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was inside the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. That was chapter 1. There's a lot to chew on there. It's an amazing beginning to Jonah's prophetic work. Very interesting that the sailors are a pretty rough and tough bunch. But they were very hesitant to throw Jonah overboard. And then when they did, the storm quit instantly. And however many sailors were on that boat, they all converted to Jonah's God. That's simply amazing. And Jonah's response, too: throw me overboard and the storm will quit. He knew he had done the exact opposite of what God wanted him to do. And it almost appears that he was willing to die for it, instead of following the Lord's wishes. Wow. There's probably more to unpack there than I'm unpacking, but there's something for you to dwell on. You all have a great night. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow. And our verse for tonight is Ephesians 6:15. For shoes, put on the peace that comes from the good news. Oh, I don't think I have it all yet. For shoes, put on the peace that comes from the good news so that you will be fully prepared. Amen. Y'all have a good night. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow.